I told Tiffany, my daughter-in-law, the moment she gleefully announced that 25 of her relatives were descending on my home for Christmas. I'm taking a vacation. You handle the cooking, cleaning, and entertaining. I am not your maid. Her expression froze instantly, ghostly pale, but that was nothing compared to the real surprise I had planned. My name is Margaret. I am 66 years old, and for the past 5 years I've lived in my own home as if I were invisible, a servant to my own family. It all began when my son Kevin married Tiffany. From the very first day, she decided I existed solely to cater to her whims. Margaret, get me coffee. Margaret, clean this up. Margaret, cook for my guests. And I, like a fool, obeyed every command. I convinced myself it was about keeping peace in the family, but deep down I knew my patience had limits. That December Tuesday, Tiffany strutted into the kitchen, her fake smile stretched wide, wearing an outrageously expensive red dress, no doubt purchased with my son's hard-earned money. Her heels tapped against the tile like a countdown to my breaking point. She perched in my kitchen chair, legs crossed, and began her rehearsed announcement with the infuriating air of triumph. Margaret, she began in that tone that always cut through me like a knife, my entire family is coming to spend Christmas here, just 25 people, nothing major. The words might have been laughable if they hadn't been delivered with such chilling certainty. My mind raced through the countless times I'd prepared meals for her friends while she took the credit, cleaned up after her parties while she slept in, silently endured invisibility in my own home. And now, the master plan unfolded. I've already told my sister Valeria, cousin Evelyn, brother-in-law Marco, uncle Alejandro, everyone is coming. The nieces, nephews, second cousins, all of them. It will be perfect. She paused, anticipating my panic, and continued as if reading a checklist. Of course, you'll handle everything, the food, the cleaning, serving the tables. Don't forget the turkeys, at least 3, and the chocolate silk pie you make. And the decorations, I want it perfect for Instagram. She waited for my usual automatic compliance, but this time something inside me snapped. Calmly, I met her gaze. Perfect, I said, letting the word hang in the air. It will be perfect because I won't be here. Silence crashed down like thunder. Tiffany blinked, stunned, lips parting with no sound. What do you mean? You won't be here? She finally managed, her voice trembling. I repeated deliberately, I'm going on vacation. You'll manage. I am not your employee. The color drained from her face. Her hands shook, the coffee cup clinking against the saucer. 5 years of silence, 5 years of being overlooked, and suddenly I had a voice. But Margaret, she sputtered, everything is planned. You can't. I can, I interrupted, the words falling like a hammer. It's my house? Those 4 words struck harder than any argument. Tiffany's jaw slackened, her mask of control crumbling. She sprang up, heels clicking frantically across the floor. This is absurd. Kevin won't allow this. Kevin could think what he wanted. The decision was made. For the first time, I was in control. Months of planning had led to this moment, and they had no idea of the storm I had orchestrated. Tiffany's fury transformed quickly, her face red, eyes sharp, posture aggressive. Margaret, she hissed, I always knew you were selfish, but this is intolerable. My family is coming from afar, and you'll ruin their Christmas on a whim? A whim. 5 years of servitude, humiliation, and emotional labor dismissed as whimsy. I drew in a breath, calm as a lake before a storm. That's not my problem. You should have asked before assuming I would handle everything for 25 people. Our house, she screamed, voice cracking. Kevin is your son. This will be ours one day. There it was, the raw truth. Tiffany never saw me as family. She saw an obstacle to inheritance, a temporary inconvenience before my possessions were hers. I let her words sink in, noting the panic blooming in her eyes. Very interesting, I murmured to myself. Keys jingled at the front door. Kevin returned from work, tired, face drawn, suit wrinkled. Tiffany darted to him like a child tattling, heels clattering, desperation in motion. Kevin, your mother has gone insane. She refuses to help with Christmas? I could hear their muffled conversation, Tiffany's tone sharp and frantic. Kevin approached the kitchen, expression torn, probably expecting me to yield. Mom, he began in that patronizing tone marriage had given him, don't you think this is a dramatic? Dramatic? My own son accusing me of hysteria for refusing to be his wife's unpaid servant. My spine stiffened, a hard resolve settling in. No, Kevin, I'm being clear, I will not be here. Tiffany, ever the barrier between us, positioned herself in front of him. See, she's irrational. What will my family think? What will I tell them? Tell them the truth, I replied evenly. You assumed I would be your employee. You were wrong. Kevin sighed, exasperated. Mom, you know Tiffany can't cook for 25. It's too much, and I've cooked for her parties for years. Now it's her turn. Tiffany protested weakly, mentioning work. My career is important. Her boutique job, likely part-time, padded with lies about her income. I smiled sweetly. Hire a caterer, plenty in the city. It costs too much, Kevin exclaimed, realizing mid-sentence. Why spend thousands when I can do it for free? I finished, calm as ever. Silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable. Kevin glanced between us, torn. Tiffany's mask of superiority was cracking. I could see the gears in their minds, attempts to manipulate me into obedience. Mom, Kevin finally said, softening, maybe you're being a bit sensitive. Hormonal changes, maybe. Hormonal changes? Fury rose, controlled. There is nothing hormonal about this, Kevin. It is about respect. For 5 years, neither of you has shown me any. Tiffany's defense faltered. The truth had landed. Kevin placed a hand on my shoulder, a gesture from childhood trying to coax compliance. It's just 1 week after everything goes back to normal. Normal, invisible me, unheard me, exploited me. No, Kevin, things are not going back to normal. I leave tomorrow. Their reactions were priceless. Shock, then panic. Tiffany's voice pitched higher. Tomorrow? Impossible. You should have considered that before assuming I was your servant, I said serenely, washing a coffee cup, every movement a quiet declaration of independence. Kevin shifted nervously, caught in the crossfire. Mom, at least tell us where you're going. To visit my sister in Miami, I lied effortlessly. Back after New Year's. Panic flashed across Tiffany's face. Their plans, their perfect Christmas, depended entirely on my labor, and now it would vanish. And for the first time in 5 years, I felt free. The next morning, Tiffany was a whirlwind of frantic energy. She flitted through the house, checking lists, tapping her phone, muttering about the impossibility of cooking for 25 people and decorating for Instagram photos. Kevin hovered behind her, trying to soothe, but his anxiety mirrored hers. I watched quietly from the doorway, sipping my tea, savoring the quiet satisfaction of my newfound freedom. Tiffany turned toward me, eyes blazing. Margaret, have you thought this through? What about the food, the tables, the centerpieces? Do you realize how much work this is? You can't just leave me with all of this. I smiled softly, my voice calm as a Sunday morning. Yes, Tiffany. I realize exactly how much work this is, which is why I won't be doing it. Her lip trembled with suppressed rage. Kevin, your mother is impossible, she snapped. Kevin raised his hands in surrender, exasperated. Tiff, let her be. She's made her decision. But Tiffany wasn't listening. She stormed into the kitchen, pulling open cabinets and rifling through drawers as if sheer willpower could summon my ghost into doing her bidding. I didn't move. I didn't intervene. I let her panic fill the space, knowing that she had never faced a Christmas without my presence. Suddenly, she froze. Wait, how will I even make the turkey? I don't know how to roast one properly. She turned to Kevin, a desperate look painted across her face. We'll have to order catering. It'll cost how much? Kevin's face fell, the reality hitting him. The extravagant, Instagram-perfect Christmas Tiffany had envisioned was crashing down. By late morning, chaos had settled in like a storm cloud. Tiffany was trying to coordinate with the few helpers she had bribed or begged, but nothing went smoothly. The pie she ordered was too sweet, the salad delivery was late, and she couldn't figure out how to assemble the table decorations. Every time she called me, I ignored it. Meanwhile, I began packing a small suitcase. I didn't need to go anywhere yet. I had planned to leave at the last possible moment, but I wanted Tiffany to see me preparing. Every fold of clothing, every zipper pulled was a quiet statement. I am leaving, and there's nothing you can do about it. Kevin finally approached me, his expression tight. Mom, are you really going? Just think about the family. You've always been the glue. Can't you stay for just 1 week? I looked at him with steady eyes. Kevin, the glue doesn't snap back into place just because someone insists. I have stayed for years, bending myself into someone I am not. This week, I bend for myself. Tiffany, overhearing, cried out, You can't do this. You're ruining everything. My family, our Christmas, it's your responsibility. Her voice broke and she started pacing like a caged animal. Kevin stepped forward. Tiff, enough. Mom is doing what she needs to do. He looked at me, the conflict in his eyes obvious. I nodded slightly, a quiet acknowledgement of his attempt at reason. By mid-afternoon, the house was in disarray. Packages were arriving, some wrong, some late, and Tiffany's frustration had reached a fever pitch. She tried calling friends for help, but everyone had prior commitments or offered only vague assistance. The realization hit her. She was unprepared, and for the first time, she couldn't control everything. I moved about calmly, folding my clothes, organizing my travel documents, sipping my tea. Kevin watched me silently, unsure whether to argue or simply accept. Tiffany finally collapsed onto the couch, hands covering her face. "This is a nightmare," she whispered, voice trembling. "I can't do this alone. I'm not capable." That's when it struck me fully, the beauty of it. 5 years of bending over backward, of catering to her whims, had built her up to this point of utter dependence. And now, she would taste exactly what life was like without me, the absence of my labor, my patience, my willingness to be invisible while she shone. I stood and approached her softly, almost like a ghost from the past she never truly acknowledged. "Tiffany," I said, calm and deliberate, "this is life without me. I have been invisible for too long. Now you will see what it means to be in charge of 25 people with no preparation, no experience, and no one to do the work for you." Tears welled in her eyes, but it was a strange mix of panic and realization. Kevin looked at her, then at me, silently acknowledging that the old balance had shifted. He finally muttered, "Mom, you're really doing this, aren't you?" I smiled faintly. "Yes, Kevin. For once, I am doing what is right for me." As I zipped my suitcase, Tiffany tried to reach out, perhaps for reconciliation, perhaps for forgiveness. "Margaret, please don't go, just for a week." "I'll try to manage better." I shook my head. "It's too late for that, Tiffany. This is the start of a new chapter. I leave tomorrow, and when I return, things will not be the same." Kevin swallowed hard. "Mom, what about Christmas?" he asked quietly. I placed my hand on his shoulder. "Christmas will happen. It won't be perfect, but it will happen. And maybe, Tiffany, you'll learn what it really takes to care for a family instead of expecting someone else to do it all for you." Tiffany's face was pale, her carefully curated image of the perfect holiday crumbling into chaos. Kevin didn't say another word. I packed the last item in my suitcase and closed it with deliberate finality. I looked around the kitchen, the house that had been my prison for so long, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years: freedom. That evening, I went to bed early, the hum of anticipation in my chest. Tomorrow, I would leave. Tomorrow, Tiffany and Kevin would experience the consequences of their assumptions, their arrogance, and their lack of gratitude. And for the first time in 5 years, I would no longer be invisible. The next morning dawned crisp and clear, a winter sun shining brightly, oblivious to the storm brewing inside the house. I moved with quiet precision, making sure my suitcase was packed, my essentials accounted for, and my departure smooth. Kevin lingered near the front door, his eyes a mix of worry and admiration. "Tiffany?" I called softly. No answer. The house was eerily quiet. I peeked into the living room and found her slumped on the couch, her hair messy, eyes red-rimmed from crying, scrolling aimlessly on her phone. She didn't look up. "Margaret, don't go," she whispered, almost inaudibly, as if saying it out loud could reverse reality. I approached her, holding my suitcase handle firmly. "Tiffany, I am going. It is time you faced what life is like without me doing everything for you. I have waited long enough." Her lip quivered. "You're abandoning me. You can't do this." I knelt beside her, keeping my tone calm, steady. "I am not abandoning you. I am finally taking care of myself. You have been given every advantage, every convenience, every handout of my labor for years. Today I leave it all to you. Learn, stumble, and grow if you can." She buried her face in her hands, muffling a sob. Kevin stood beside her, uncertain how to bridge the gap. "Mom, maybe we can compromise, just a few days away." I shook my head slowly. "No, Kevin, this is the line I have bent for years. Now it is time for them to bend or break on their own." The front door loomed ahead like a portal to freedom. I picked up my suitcase and moved toward it, hearing Tiffany's voice cracking as she shouted, "This isn't fair. You're supposed to be here, you're supposed to care." I paused for a fraction of a second, letting the weight of her desperation settle in the air between us. Then I stepped out. The cold air hit my face like liberation. I drew a deep breath, savoring the crispness, feeling the tension in my shoulders unwind for the first time in years. Kevin followed me outside. He didn't speak, just stood silently as I lifted my suitcase into the car. Tiffany appeared at the door, wrapped in a blanket, a fragile figure of panic and disbelief. She stared at me, tears streaming freely. "Mom, please," she whispered, voice shaking. I gave her a faint smile. "No, Tiffany. Please yourself with this chaos. I've given everything I could. Now it's your turn." As I drove away, leaving the house behind, a strange mix of guilt and exhilaration washed over me. I hadn't run away, I hadn't abandoned anyone. I had chosen myself finally, and the relief was intoxicating. Behind me, I could imagine Tiffany pacing, Kevin trying to mediate, the decorations half finished, the food arriving late or wrong. And it was beautiful in its own way. By mid-morning, I had reached a small, quaint inn on the outskirts of the city. The receptionist smiled as I checked in. I felt a small thrill, like stepping into a world I had almost forgotten existed, a world where I could make decisions for myself without worrying about someone else's expectations. I unpacked my things slowly, deliberately, savoring the small acts of autonomy. I brewed a cup of tea and stepped out onto the balcony, feeling the sun warm my face. For the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty for breathing, for existing on my own terms. I let the silence of my new surroundings wash over me, a welcome contrast to the chaos I had left behind. Meanwhile, back at the house, Tiffany's panic had reached a fever pitch. The turkey was undercooked, the decorations were falling apart, and the guests had started arriving early. Kevin was running from room to room, trying to mitigate the disaster, but every solution only revealed another problem. Tiffany screamed at him for the minor mistakes he couldn't possibly have prevented, her carefully maintained composure completely shattered. Word spread fast, the lavish Instagram-perfect Christmas had failed spectacularly. Guests whispered, some tried to help, but none could manage the scale of what Tiffany had attempted without my presence. The reality hit her hard. She had relied on me for everything, and now, without my constant intervention, she was floundering. Back at the inn, I let the contrast sink in. Here I was, sipping my tea in peaceful solitude, watching snow gently fall outside. There was no screaming, no frantic calls, no invisible labor keeping the world in order. The world existed, and I existed independently for the first time in years. I felt the tension in my chest dissolve, replaced by an unexpected and profound joy. As evening approached, I ventured into town for a small walk. The crisp air, the quiet streets, and the absence of obligation felt like liberation. I passed a small bakery and treated myself to a slice of pie, a small indulgence I had never allowed myself at home. Each bite was a declaration of self-respect, of boundaries firmly established and honored. Meanwhile, Tiffany's Christmas continued to spiral. She had to improvise decorations, reorder food at the last minute, and manage guests she didn't know well. The stress brought out sides of her no one had seen before. Impatience, frustration, and an inability to delegate. Kevin tried to guide her, but even he was overwhelmed. I knew that when I returned, things wouldn't simply revert to how they had been. Tiffany would have learned, in her own messy, chaotic way, what it meant to shoulder responsibility without a safety net. Kevin might approach me differently, more understanding of the balance I had maintained for years. And I, for my part, would have experienced the first taste of self-determination in half a decade. That night, I sat by the window, looking out at the stars. For the first time in years, I felt fully present in my own life. There was no resentment, no obligation, only clarity. I had chosen myself, and in doing so, I had given Tiffany and Kevin a lesson they would never forget. As I drifted off to sleep, the quiet hum of the inn enveloped me. Tomorrow promised new experiences, small joys, and the freedom I had long denied myself. I had finally stepped out of the shadows and into my own life, and nothing could pull me back. The next morning, the inn was bathed in soft golden light. I woke to a quiet I hadn't known in years. No clattering dishes, no frantic phone calls, no sudden crises, just me, the room, and the calm rhythm of my own breathing. I dressed slowly, savoring each movement, appreciating the simple pleasure of autonomy. I decided to explore the town. The streets were narrow, lined with small shops and cafes. The air smelled faintly of baked bread and pine. I wandered aimlessly, letting my feet guide me. For the first time in years, I wasn't planning, scheduling, or solving someone else's problems. I was just present. In a tiny bookstore, I found a journal tucked between thick novels. Its cover was soft leather, worn but inviting. I purchased it, feeling a thrill of anticipation. I hadn't written in years, not since my life had been consumed by obligations. Sitting at a cafe, sipping coffee, I opened it and began to write. Words flowed easily, almost urgently, as if they had been waiting for years to escape. I wrote about my childhood, the dreams I had abandoned, the endless labor I had poured into Tiffany and Kevin, the suffocating weight of being indispensable. Then I wrote about today, about freedom, about self-discovery, about the exhilaration of choosing myself for once. Meanwhile, back at the house, chaos had escalated. Tiffany had tried to recreate my organization system but failed spectacularly. Food burned, drinks spilled, guests complained. Kevin, exhausted and overwhelmed, confronted her. "You can't do everything yourself, Tiffany. Mom's not here to fix it." Her response was furious. "I don't need her, I've been preparing for this, I can handle it." But the truth was undeniable, she couldn't. Each new problem piled onto the last, and she found herself gasping for control that was no longer within her grasp. The mansion, once a showcase of her perfection, now looked like a battlefield. Back at the cafe, I received a call from Kevin. His voice was strained. "Mom, things are a disaster. She's really struggling. Maybe you should." I interrupted, calm but firm. "Kevin, I know, and that's the point. She needs to learn to manage without me. You too." He paused, frustration and disbelief in his tone. "It's hard to watch. I didn't realize how much you did. I thought we could handle it." I let the silence linger. "And now you know. That knowledge comes with a price. That price is responsibility." After the call, I walked by the frozen river at the edge of town. The ice gleamed in the sunlight, perfectly still, reflecting the sky above. I felt a sense of alignment with it, solid, unyielding, yet completely free. Life didn't require me to fix everything, not anymore. The revelation was both terrifying and liberating. At the inn, I met another guest, an older woman named Alina. She noticed my journal and asked about it. We began to talk, and for the first time in years, I shared openly about my life. I spoke of exhaustion, sacrifice, and the long years of invisible labor I had carried. She listened with understanding and empathy, offering insights that made me realize how much I had neglected my own needs. "You've been living in the shadows of others' lives," she said gently. "But life isn't about fixing everyone else, it's about finding your own rhythm, your own joy." I nodded, feeling the weight of her words settle deeply within me. Meanwhile, Tiffany's meltdown reached its peak. Guests were openly criticizing her decisions, the food had gone cold, and the decorations were in disarray. Kevin tried to salvage the situation, but even he admitted defeat. Finally, Tiffany broke down completely, collapsing onto the couch in tears, realizing that she had relied on me far more than she had ever admitted. The silence in that house now mirrored the quiet I had discovered in the town. But unlike me, Tiffany was panicking in that silence. She screamed into the void, demanding control that was no longer hers to claim. The contrast between our experiences was stark. My absence had created space for growth, but also for struggle. Back at the inn, I attended a small evening gathering hosted by Alina. People shared stories, music played softly, and laughter filled the room. I realized something profound. I had been living life as a caretaker, never fully inhabiting my own existence. Tonight, surrounded by strangers, I felt more alive than I had in years. When I returned to my room, the journal in hand, I wrote again. I documented my reflections on Tiffany, Kevin, and myself. I didn't write to judge or condemn, but to understand. I chronicled the patterns of dependency, the unspoken rules I had followed for decades, and the liberation I now experienced. The night stretched on, and sleep finally came. For the first time in years, it was deep and untroubled. No alarms, no reminders, no obligations tugging at my consciousness, just rest, uninterrupted and whole. The next day promised more discoveries. Small excursions, new people, and experiences awaited. I planned nothing, choosing instead to embrace spontaneity. The realization was thrilling. For the first time in years, my life belonged to me alone. Meanwhile, at home, Tiffany was beginning to understand the hard truth. Kevin had been forced to take control, make decisions, and manage chaos. Tiffany watched, helpless, as the house's reality reflected the consequences of her previous dependence. Every burnt dish, every angry guest, every collapsed decoration served as a mirror showing her how much she had relied on me. By the time I returned, Tiffany and Kevin would be forever changed. They would see me differently, not just as the caregiver, but as a woman who had agency, who set boundaries, and who demanded respect for her life and choices. And I, in turn, would return not exhausted, but renewed, ready to engage on my terms. For now, I walked through the streets, journal in hand, feeling the weight of years lift from my shoulders. Freedom was not just absence from responsibility, it was presence in my own life. And finally, at last, I understood what it meant to truly live for oneself. The following morning, I awoke with the sun streaming through the window, painting the room in warm, golden streaks. The inn was quiet, the gentle hum of life outside offering a sense of peace I had long forgotten. I stretched, savoring the sensation of muscles loosening after a night of deep, uninterrupted sleep. My thoughts were mine alone, no obligations, no schedules, no crises demanding immediate attention. I decided to take a long walk, letting the town guide me rather than any predetermined plan. Cobblestone streets wound past small, colorful houses, each adorned with flowers that seemed to reach toward the sun. Children's laughter echoed faintly, a reminder of simplicity and joy. I felt lighter with each step, as if each footfall was shaking off years of invisible burdens. At the edge of the town, I stumbled upon a small art gallery tucked between two cafes. The glass doors were clean, the interior minimalist yet inviting. Inside, paintings of landscapes, abstract figures, and portraits lined the walls. I lingered in front of one painting, a stormy sea, dark waves crashing against jagged rocks, but in the distance, a single ray of sunlight breaking through the clouds. I felt a pang of recognition. My life had often felt like that stormy sea, turbulent, relentless, demanding, but I had never allowed myself to look for the sunlight. This painting, frozen in time, reminded me that hope always exists, even when everything seems chaotic. I purchased a small print and tucked it into my journal bag, feeling a strange sense of ownership over this metaphor for my own life. Meanwhile, back at home, Tiffany's realization deepened. Kevin had taken charge, organizing meals, coordinating guests, and fixing problems she couldn't even see. Her anger had subsided into a quiet frustration, a simmering acknowledgement that she had taken my presence for granted. Each mistake she had made alone now seemed monumental, a harsh teacher forcing her to confront her limitations. I received a message from Kevin that evening. "Mom, it's different, hard but necessary. Tiffany's starting to understand. We're figuring it out." I smiled, a sense of satisfaction blooming quietly within me. I hadn't abandoned them, I had simply stepped aside, allowing them to grow in ways they couldn't under my constant oversight. Back at the inn, the evening brought a gentle breeze and the faint scent of pine and earth. I joined Alina and a few other guests for dinner in the common room. Conversation flowed effortlessly, stories of travels, regrets, hopes, and dreams. I realized that I had been living in a bubble focused only on solving problems, never on connecting deeply with others. Tonight, I felt the warmth of true human connection, free from obligation or expectation. After dinner, I returned to my room and wrote again in my journal. I reflected on Tiffany and Kevin, on the life I had temporarily abandoned, and on the person I was becoming. I wrote without pause, unfiltered, letting every thought and emotion pour onto the page. There was clarity in the act of writing, a sense of understanding emerging from the chaos of years spent prioritizing others over myself. Days passed, each one offering small revelations. I explored the surrounding countryside, visiting lakes, forests, and tiny villages. I met travelers like myself, people seeking solace or adventure, each with a story that mirrored fragments of my own life. Conversations were effortless, laughter came easily. I began to understand that life's richness comes not from fulfilling endless duties, but from the experiences, connections, and moments of presence we allow ourselves. Back home, Tiffany and Kevin were slowly adapting. The house was no longer perfect, but it was alive. Mistakes became learning opportunities, arguments turned into solutions, and frustration gave way to collaboration. Tiffany, once so reliant on me, discovered resilience she didn't know she had. Kevin, often in the background, stepped forward to lead. The chaos, once terrifying, became a catalyst for growth. One afternoon, I walked along a quiet riverbank, watching the water ripple over stones. I thought of the past, of all the years spent tirelessly maintaining order for others. A mix of pride and regret surfaced, pride for the sacrifices I had made, regret for the moments I had missed for myself. Yet the current of the river reminded me that life flows onward, and with each step forward, we have the chance to choose differently. By the end of the week, I had transformed more than I expected. The journal overflowed with reflections, sketches, and plans. My heart felt lighter, my mind sharper. I had discovered that independence isn't selfish, it is essential. Boundaries are not walls, they are protection, allowing the heart to expand without being consumed. Meanwhile, Tiffany finally admitted her dependence. She approached Kevin one evening, voice trembling but sincere. "I underestimated Mom. I thought I could handle it, but I couldn't. I need to change, and I will, for myself and for us." Kevin nodded, relief washing over his face. "It's okay, we're learning together. That's what matters." That night, I sat by the window, gazing at the starlit sky. The quiet hum of the inn, the distant sounds of the town, and the peaceful rhythm of my own thoughts enveloped me. For the first time, I felt fully present, fully myself. Freedom was not an escape, it was a reclamation. I had stepped away, and in doing so, I had found life, connection, and clarity. The next morning, I packed my belongings, ready to return home. I knew things would be different. Tiffany and Kevin would see me as I truly was, not just a caretaker, but a woman with agency, voice, and choice. I smiled, closing my journal, feeling a quiet strength in my chest. As I walked through the town one last time, I realized something profound. Life doesn't demand we carry everything alone. Stepping back can be as powerful as stepping in. Growth often comes through absence, understanding through struggle, and love through freedom. I took a deep breath, savoring the moment. The journey was far from over, but for the first time I felt equipped to face it on my own terms. The road ahead was mine and mine alone, but it was a road I would walk with confidence, clarity, and an unwavering sense of self. The journey home felt different than I had imagined. The roads were familiar, yet I noticed every detail with a newfound awareness. The way sunlight danced across the windshield, the smell of rain-soaked earth clinging to the air, the distant hum of life in motion. For the first time in years, I felt like an observer and participant simultaneously, present in every moment without the need to control or fix it. When I pulled into the driveway, the house looked smaller, more ordinary than I remembered. Yet something in me had shifted. I no longer saw the imperfections as burdens. They were simply part of a living, breathing home. I stepped inside cautiously, unsure how my presence would be received. Tiffany and Kevin were in the living room. Kevin glanced up, offering a tentative smile. Tiffany, on the other hand, froze for a moment, her eyes wide as if measuring me against a memory she had long taken for granted. Then she exhaled, a mixture of relief and embarrassment. "You're back," she said softly. "Yes," I replied, setting down my bag. My voice sounded different even to me, calmer, firmer, resonating with a sense of ownership I hadn't felt in years. "I'm back. And things have changed for all of us." Tiffany swallowed, then nodded slowly. "I know, we've learned a lot while you were away. I've realized I can't take you for granted anymore, and Kevin's been amazing. I see now how much effort it takes to manage everything." Her voice quivered slightly, but it was sincere. Kevin stepped forward, pride and relief evident on his face. "Mom, you're right, I've learned to step up, to lead when needed." "Tiffany's learned too. We're not perfect, but we're growing, thanks to you giving us the space to figure things out." I felt a surge of emotion I couldn't quite name, pride, relief, even a touch of vindication. I hadn't abandoned them. I had simply trusted life to do what I couldn't always do for them, and they had risen to the challenge. The days that followed were filled with adjustment. Tiffany took on responsibilities she had never imagined, often seeking advice but also trusting her instincts. Kevin became a reliable partner, bridging gaps, smoothing tensions, and quietly handling tasks that once overwhelmed us all. I observed, guided gently when necessary, but I no longer carried the weight of constant oversight. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of crimson and gold, I found myself sitting on the porch alone. The house was alive with the sound of laughter, conversation, and the clinking of dishes, a symphony of domestic harmony I had long forgotten existed. I closed my eyes and let the moment wash over me, appreciating the balance we had created, a balance born from distance, reflection, and growth. I thought back to the journal I had filled at the inn. Each page chronicled not just my experiences but the evolution of my understanding about independence, about letting go, about trust, and about love. I realized then that freedom wasn't about leaving life behind. It was about reclaiming one's place within it without losing oneself. Tiffany approached, hesitant but determined. "Mom, can we talk?" she asked, her eyes searching mine. I nodded, motioning for her to sit beside me. I know I have a lot to make up for," she began. "The mistakes, the reliance, I was blind to how much you sacrificed. I want to change, truly change. I want us to be a real family where we all contribute and respect each other." Her sincerity struck me. I placed a hand over hers, feeling the warmth of connection, the bridge we had begun to rebuild. "Tiffany, it's not about blame anymore. It's about understanding, learning, and moving forward. You've grown in ways I couldn't have forced. That's what matters." Kevin joined us, leaning against the porch railing with a small smile. "We've all changed. We've learned to communicate, to take responsibility, and to trust each other. We're stronger because of it." I nodded, the weight of years lifting as I absorbed their words. The home felt different, not just because of the absence of chaos, but because of the presence of maturity, understanding, and shared responsibility. It was a transformation that could not have occurred without the time and distance I had taken. Weeks turned into months, and our lives settled into a rhythm that felt natural, balanced, and sustainable. Mornings were filled with shared breakfasts and conversation. Tasks were divided fairly, and each of us respected the boundaries we had established. The tension that had once dominated our home was replaced with a quiet strength, a trust that each person could handle their responsibilities and still be there for one another. One afternoon, I found myself revisiting the art gallery from my retreat. The Stormy Sea painting still hung in the same spot, sunlight breaking through dark clouds. I smiled, feeling a profound resonance with it now. Life would always bring storms, but the sunlight, hope, clarity, growth was always possible. The lesson was no longer abstract, it had been lived, embodied, and shared. Returning home, I realized that the distance I had taken was not an escape from responsibility, but a journey into empowerment. Tiffany and Kevin were no longer dependent on me for every detail. They were capable, resilient, and growing, and I, for the first time, truly understood my own needs, desires, and capacity for self-determination. Evenings became our cherished time together. We shared stories, plans, and laughter, each of us contributing equally. I watched Tiffany and Kevin evolve not just as individuals but as a family unit, stronger and more united than ever before. My heart swelled with a quiet pride, not from control or accomplishment, but from witnessing growth born from freedom, trust, and patience. And as I lay in bed each night reflecting on the day, I realized the ultimate truth. Life's most profound transformations often begin in the absence of control. Stepping back does not mean abandoning, it means trusting the process, trusting others, and trusting oneself. The chaos we once feared became the very catalyst for growth, and in that we found our strength, our balance, and our peace. The storm had passed. The sunlight was not just visible, it was lived, breathed, and embraced. And in that light, I finally understood the meaning of freedom, love, and true connection. As weeks became months, the subtle shifts in our home life transformed into something remarkable. What had once been a house weighed down by tension now hummed with quiet energy, a rhythm that each of us contributed to without thought or friction. I noticed the little things: Kevin waking early to brew coffee just the way I liked it, Tiffany organizing family schedules with a gentle efficiency, even the plants I had neglected flourishing under their care. It wasn't perfection, but it was harmony. One evening, I caught Tiffany in the kitchen, her sleeves rolled up, hands flour-dusted as she prepared dinner. She looked up when I entered, and for a moment I saw the little girl I remembered, hesitant and unsure. But behind that was a young woman I barely recognized, confident and capable, making decisions and owning them without apology. "I've been thinking," she said, breaking the comfortable silence. "We should start a new tradition, something that's ours, a way to mark progress and growth, not just the big achievements but the small victories too." I smiled, intrigued. "What did you have in mind?" Tiffany's eyes sparkled. "Every month we share a story, one about something we've learned, something we're proud of, or even a mistake that taught us something valuable. It's a way to celebrate growth, not just outcomes." Kevin nodded from his spot at the table, a grin spreading across his face. I like that. We could even document it, maybe a little journal or video log. Years from now, we can look back and see how far we've come. And so we began. That night, each of us shared our reflections. Tiffany spoke of courage and humility, Kevin of patience and responsibility, and I spoke of surrender and trust. Listening to each other, I realized that the distance I had once feared might separate us had actually given rise to the depth of understanding we now enjoyed. Outside, winter crept in slowly, dusting the world in white. Inside, we built warmth not from fire alone, but from conversation, laughter, and shared purpose. We discovered the beauty in routine and the strength in consistency, a lesson that had been elusive when chaos ruled our lives. The more we gave space to each other, the more we received in return, a paradox that revealed itself daily. One particularly cold evening, as I sipped tea on the porch, Kevin joined me with his mug in hand. "Mom, can I ask you something?" he said. His tone was serious but tender. "Of course," I replied, curious. "How did you know stepping away was the right thing? I mean, wasn't it hard for you to leave us, not be in control?" I took a deep breath, watching the steam rise from my own cup. It was terrifying, but I realized that control is often an illusion. True growth, yours, Tiffany's, mine, can only happen when we face challenges on our own. I had to trust that you could handle it, and you did. That trust, it's more powerful than any guidance I could have given while hovering. Kevin nodded slowly, absorbing my words. "I think I understand. It's like freedom wasn't just for you, it was for all of us. We grew because you let us." "Yes," I said, a sense of pride swelling in my chest. "And growth is the most profound gift you can give someone. It's messy, imperfect, and sometimes painful, but it's real." Our conversations became deeper, more meaningful. The surface-level politeness and obligation gave way to genuine dialogue. We debated, laughed, even disagreed, but always with respect and understanding. I saw Tiffany assert herself in ways I hadn't imagined, Kevin take initiative without hesitation, and myself navigating the role of mother with wisdom instead of dominance. As spring approached, I began taking long walks alone, reflecting on the journey that had brought me here. I walked past the art gallery once more, this time noticing a painting of a tree in bloom. Its roots were deep, its branches stretched outward, reaching for the sun. I saw myself in it, the family in it, and the life we had cultivated together. Strong roots, open growth, and a resilience born from patience and trust. One afternoon, while tidying the attic, I discovered an old photo album. I flipped through the pages, pausing at pictures of chaotic holidays, birthday parties that went awry, and family moments filled with tension. And then, I turned to a blank page. Something about it called to me, as if inviting a new chapter. I grabbed a pen and slowly began documenting our transformation, the trials, the lessons, and the triumphs. Each word felt like a declaration, a commitment to ourselves and to the life we were building. Tiffany wandered in, peering over my shoulder. "This is amazing," she said softly. "We need to keep this going, document everything. It's our story, the one we choose to write together." Kevin appeared next, ruffling her hair playfully. "I think Mom should write the first draft. We'll add our chapters later." I laughed, feeling the warmth of belonging seep into my bones. "Agreed," I said. "But remember, this is a story for all of us. Each of you has a voice here, equal and valued." And so we wrote. Not just in the album, but in the rhythm of our lives. Every shared meal, every challenge met together, every quiet moment of understanding became a line in the story we were authoring collectively. Our home, once a place of tension and unspoken resentment, had transformed into a sanctuary of growth, laughter, and mutual respect. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky in hues of amber and violet, I sat back in my chair and watched Tiffany and Kevin laugh over a board game. The simplicity of the moment struck me. No drama, no fear, no need for constant intervention, just life lived fully and authentically. I realized then that the hardest lessons often bring the greatest rewards. By stepping back, by trusting, by allowing life to unfold as it should, we had not only survived, but we had thrived. The family I had feared was broken beyond repair had been rebuilt, stronger and more resilient than ever. And in that moment, I understood something fundamental. The greatest love is not control, not protection, not constant oversight. The greatest love is trust, the courage to let go, and the willingness to grow alongside those you care for most. With summer arriving, our home seemed to breathe differently. The light lingered longer in the evenings, spilling through windows and warming the walls, echoing the transformation that had taken place inside. The garden, once neglected and overgrown, now thrived under Kevin and Tiffany's care, each plant a testament to patience and dedication. I found myself marveling at the tangible proof of growth, something I could touch, see, and nurture alongside them. One Saturday morning, I suggested a family project, restoring the old shed at the back of the garden. It could be our little retreat, I said, a place to escape, think, or just enjoy time together. Tiffany's eyes lit up. Can we paint it too, make it bright and cheerful? Kevin laughed. I'll handle the repairs, you handle the aesthetics. We worked together, laughter and conversation blending with the rhythm of hammers and brushes. As days turned into weeks, the shed evolved from a dusty relic into a vibrant, welcoming space, a symbol of our teamwork and collaboration. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours, and that imperfection made it beautiful. One evening, after a long day of painting, we sat on the porch watching the sun dip below the horizon. Tiffany leaned against me, and Kevin rested his head on my shoulder. Silence enveloped us, comfortable and full, like the final note of a song that lingers long after it's ended. I'm proud of us, I whispered, more to myself than to them, of all of us. We've come so far. Tiffany and Kevin smiled, their faces reflecting the glow of the setting sun. We couldn't have done it without you, Kevin said softly. I shook my head. No, we did it together. Every choice, every mistake, every victory, it belongs to all of us. The days that followed were filled with small but meaningful moments, quiet breakfasts where conversation flowed easily, evening walks where we shared our thoughts and dreams, and even challenges that arose which we met with patience rather than tension. Each moment became a stitch in the tapestry of our renewed family life, binding us together in ways I had never imagined possible. One afternoon, Tiffany came running into the living room, eyes wide with excitement. Mom, Kevin, you have to see this. We followed her into the garden where she had arranged a small display of flowers in front of the shed. In the center, she had placed a framed photo of the three of us from years ago when our family was fractured and uncertain. Around it, she had carefully pinned notes describing lessons we had learned, moments we had cherished, and hopes for the future. It's our story, she said, her voice trembling slightly. A reminder of everything we've been through and everything we've built together. Kevin nodded, his hand resting on her shoulder. It's perfect. It shows how far we've come and where we're going. I felt tears prick at my eyes. It's more than perfect. It's real, and that's all that matters. As the seasons shifted, I noticed subtle changes in myself as well. The anxiety and fear that had once driven me to overprotectiveness had softened into confidence and patience. I no longer felt the need to control every detail or anticipate every challenge. Instead, I trusted in our family's resilience, knowing that together we could navigate anything life presented. One rainy evening, as the sound of droplets tapped gently against the windows, I found myself reflecting on the journey we had taken. I realized that the hardest part wasn't stepping back, it was learning to let go of fear and doubt. But once I did, I discovered a depth of love, connection, and understanding that I had never known existed. Kevin and Tiffany joined me by the fire, each wrapped in blankets, sipping cocoa and sharing stories from their day. I listened, feeling the warmth of their presence, the richness of their voices, and the beauty of the life we had created together. Every struggle, every tear, every moment of uncertainty had led us here to this space of trust, joy, and authenticity. I thought of the lessons we had learned along the way, that love is patient and forgiving, that growth often comes from struggle, and that trust is the foundation upon which lasting bonds are built. Each lesson had been earned, not given. Each victory had been hard-won, not handed down. One day, while sorting through old boxes in the attic, I found a letter I had written to myself years ago, filled with fears and worries about my children, my family, and my own limitations. Reading it now, I felt a mixture of sadness and pride, sadness for the fear that had once consumed me, pride for the courage it had taken to let go and trust. I decided to write a new letter not to myself but to my family. I expressed gratitude for their resilience, admiration for their growth, and hope for the future we would continue to build together. I placed the letter in the family album, knowing that one day they would read it and understand just how much they had shaped my life, just as I had shaped theirs. The story of our family, once marked by tension, fear, and distance, had transformed into a narrative of connection, growth, and love. Every challenge we faced became a stepping stone, every triumph a shared celebration, and every moment of vulnerability an opportunity to deepen our bond. As night fell and the stars began to shine, I looked around our home, the garden in bloom, the shed vibrant with color, Kevin and Tiffany laughing together, the album of our journey on the table, and I realized that we had truly created something extraordinary. Not a perfect family, not a flawless life, but a family bound by trust, respect, and love, a family capable of weathering any storm and celebrating every joy. And in that quiet, starlit moment, I understood the truth I had discovered through years of struggle and growth. That family is not defined by perfection or control, but by the courage to love, to trust, and to grow together no matter what challenges life may bring. Autumn arrived like a gentle whisper, painting the trees in shades of gold, amber, and crimson. The air was crisp, carrying with it a sense of change, reflection, and quiet anticipation. Our home seemed to hum with the subtle rhythm of the season, each day marked by the falling leaves and the soft glow of evening light filtering through the windows. Kevin had taken to journaling, a habit he never had before. Each night he would sit by the fireplace, pen in hand, recounting the events of the day, the laughter, the small victories, and even the moments that tested him. Watching him, I felt a deep sense of pride. He had grown not just in confidence but in introspection and empathy, qualities that had once seemed distant to him. Tiffany, ever observant, noticed the changes in him as well. "Mom," she said one afternoon while helping me bake, "Kevin's different. He listens more and he actually thinks before he reacts." "It's nice," I smiled. "It's amazing what love, patience, and trust can do." Our weekends became a celebration of togetherness. We ventured on small trips to the nearby lake where the reflection of the colorful leaves danced on the water's surface. We hiked trails that led us through forests alive with the whisper of rustling leaves and the occasional call of a bird. Each journey, no matter how brief, became a shared memory, a testament to the bond we had nurtured and strengthened. One chilly evening, as we returned home from a long walk, we discovered a small fox near the edge of the garden. Its fur gleamed in the soft light of the setting sun, and it stared at us with curious, intelligent eyes. Tiffany froze, her hand resting gently on the fence. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Kevin crouched down, trying not to startle it. "It's just observing us like it knows we mean no harm." For a moment, time seemed to slow. The fox, graceful and unafraid, lingered, then disappeared silently into the forest. That fleeting encounter became a symbol for us, a reminder that life, much like nature, is filled with unexpected beauty, moments that appear quietly and leave a lasting impression. As the days shortened and the first frost kissed the garden, I realized how deeply our lives had changed. The tension and fear that had once governed our home had been replaced with understanding, patience, and a profound sense of security. Kevin and Tiffany were no longer just my children, they had become partners in a shared journey, each contributing to the warmth and harmony of our family life. One Sunday morning, Kevin approached me with a thoughtful expression. "Mom, I've been thinking," he began, "we should do something special for Tiffany, something to show her how much we appreciate her efforts in keeping this family together." I nodded, curious. "What do you have in mind?" He smiled mysteriously. "A surprise, but I need your help. Are you in?" The plan unfolded over the next week. We worked in secret, coordinating details, gathering supplies, and enlisting Tiffany's closest friends to contribute. On the day of the surprise, Tiffany was led to the garden under the pretense of a normal afternoon of chores. When she arrived, she was met with a breathtaking scene. Strings of fairy lights twinkling in the trees, a small table set with her favorite treats, and a handwritten note from both Kevin and me expressing our gratitude and love. Tears welled in her eyes as she read the note. "I don't know what to say," she stammered. "You don't need to say anything," I told her softly. "Just know that we see you, we appreciate you. And we love you every day." Kevin placed a hand on her shoulder. "You've been the heart of this family, Tiffany. Tonight, it's all about you." She hugged us both, her warmth radiating into my very soul. In that moment, I understood that the journey we had undertaken was far from over, but the foundation we had built, the love, trust, and mutual respect, was unshakable. As autumn deepened, the nights grew longer and colder, and our home became a sanctuary. We spent evenings wrapped in blankets, reading books aloud, sharing stories from our past, and dreaming together about the future. Each conversation, each shared memory reinforced the truth we had discovered. That family is not simply a collection of individuals, but a living, breathing connection that thrives on understanding, patience, and love. One evening, as snowflakes began to drift gently outside the window, Tiffany asked, "Mom, do you think we'll ever face challenges like before?" I paused, choosing my words carefully. Life will always have challenges. That's inevitable, but the difference now is that we face them together. We've learned how to communicate, to support each other, and to forgive. That makes all the difference. Kevin nodded in agreement. We've grown stronger not because nothing happened to us, but because we learned to rise after everything. The first snow of the season blanketed our garden, transforming it into a quiet, glistening wonderland. Tiffany and Kevin rushed outside, laughing as they made snow angels, their joy uncontainable. I watched them, a heart full of gratitude, knowing that this family, our family, had endured, evolved, and emerged more connected than ever before. That night, as we sat by the fire, sipping hot chocolate and listening to the wind whisper through the trees, I reflected on the journey that had brought us here. The struggles, the fears, and the mistakes had all been necessary. They had taught us resilience, patience, and the irreplaceable value of trust. Looking around at my children grown, yet still in need of guidance and love, I felt a sense of profound peace. The past could no longer define us. The future was ours to shape together. And in the quiet glow of that winter evening, I knew that the story of our family was far from ordinary. It was a story of transformation, courage, and the unbreakable bond of love. A story that would continue to unfold one moment at a time as long as we walked this path side by side. Winter fully settled over the town, wrapping everything in a soft, white blanket. The garden, which had once been a riot of autumn colors, now lay quiet under layers of snow. The world outside seemed still, but inside our home, warmth and laughter persisted. The fire crackled, casting flickering shadows on the walls, while the aroma of fresh cookies filled the air. Kevin had discovered a new passion: photography. He would spend hours capturing the subtle beauty of the frozen landscape. The way the sunlight glinted off icicles, the delicate patterns of frost on the windows, and the tiny footprints of birds in the snow. Each photograph told a story not just of the season, but of the perspective he had gained, an eye for detail, a patience he had once lacked. Tiffany, meanwhile, had embraced creative writing. Her notebooks overflowed with poems, short stories, and reflections, many inspired by our family's journey. She read them aloud to us by the fireplace, her voice carrying the emotion behind each word. Sometimes we laughed together. Other times, a hush would fall and the depth of her insight would leave us in awe. One particularly cold morning, I noticed Kevin staring out the window for an unusually long time. "Something on your mind?" I asked. He turned, a thoughtful expression on his face. "I've been thinking about the future: college, jobs, life after home. I don't want to drift apart from all of you." I placed a hand on his shoulder. "Kevin, change is inevitable, but the bond we share isn't. No matter where life takes us, we'll always find our way back to each other." Tiffany chimed in, "Yeah, it's like our family isn't just a place, it's a feeling. We carry it wherever we go." Their words filled me with an overwhelming sense of pride. They had learned the most important lesson: love and connection are not limited by proximity or circumstance. They endure because of the effort, respect, and care we put into them. The holidays approached, bringing with them a sense of nostalgia and excitement. We decorated the house together, hanging twinkling lights, arranging ornaments, and crafting handmade decorations. Every object held a memory or a story, a testament to the history we had built and the journey we had shared. On Christmas Eve, we gathered by the fireplace, exchanging small gifts and heartfelt notes. Kevin presented Tiffany with a framed photograph he had taken earlier in the season, a serene image of the frozen lake with her footprints in the snow, a symbol of the mark she had left on our lives. Tiffany's eyes welled up as she hugged him tightly. "This is perfect," she whispered. "I'll treasure it forever." I handed Tiffany a journal I had carefully filled with letters recounting our shared experiences and expressing my love and pride in both children. "A way to remember us," I said softly. The night ended with laughter, storytelling, and the quiet understanding that our family had not just survived challenges but had been transformed by them. The warmth in our home contrasted with the cold outside, a perfect metaphor for the strength of love and unity. As winter deepened, I found moments of reflection and gratitude. I thought about the journey we had taken from fear and uncertainty to trust and harmony. Every argument, misunderstanding, and tear had been a stepping stone, guiding us toward growth and deeper understanding. One evening, Kevin asked, "Mom, do you think we'll ever face anything as hard as before?" I looked into his eyes, seeing the maturity and resilience that had replaced the boy who once feared change. Life will always test us. But now we have the tools to face it: communication, empathy, patience, and unwavering love. That makes us stronger than ever, Tiffany added, and even if we stumble, we have each other to lift us up. The first snowstorm of the season arrived one night, blanketing everything in silence. Kevin and Tiffany woke me early, excited to experience the transformed world. We bundled up in scarves and coats, venturing outside to the soft crunch of snow under our feet. Their laughter echoed across the yard, pure and unrestrained, a sound that filled my heart with unspoken gratitude. We built snowmen, had snowball fights, and left a trail of footprints that soon became one with the untouched snow. For a moment, the past felt distant, irrelevant even. Here, in the midst of laughter and the quiet beauty of winter, we existed fully in the present, celebrating the life we had reclaimed and nurtured together. That night, as we returned indoors, wet and chilled but brimming with joy, I realized something profound. The journey we had undertaken was far from ordinary. It had transformed us, revealing the true essence of family: not perfection, but resilience, empathy, and unwavering love. Over the following weeks, life settled into a rhythm that was both comforting and inspiring. Kevin continued to explore photography, his talent growing with each passing day. Tiffany's writing blossomed into stories that touched the heart and challenged the mind. And I, as their mother, found a quiet joy in witnessing their growth, knowing that the lessons we had learned together would shape the rest of our lives. One afternoon, as I watched the snow fall softly against the window, Tiffany approached me with a thoughtful expression. "Mom, I think we've learned something important," she said. "That family isn't about being perfect. It's about being there even when things are messy, even when it's hard. It's about choosing love every day." I hugged her tightly, tears welling in my eyes. "Exactly, Tiffany, and we've done that, haven't we? Through every storm, every challenge, we chose love." Kevin joined us, placing his arms around both of us. "And we always will, no matter what comes next, we face it together." The snow continued to fall outside, gentle and relentless, covering the world in a pristine white blanket. Inside, our home glowed with warmth, love, and the quiet certainty that we were ready for whatever life had in store. Our journey had been long, challenging, and at times painful, but it had brought us here to a place of understanding, strength, and an unshakable bond that would endure beyond seasons, storms, and time itself. As the fire crackled and our family settled into the quiet of the evening, I realized that the true magic of life lies not in perfection, but in the courage to face struggles, the willingness to forgive, and the commitment to love unconditionally. And in that moment, surrounded by the two people who had transformed my world, I knew that our story was just beginning, a story of resilience, growth, and a love that could never be broken. Spring arrived quietly, brushing the town with soft greens, delicate blossoms, and the gentle hum of life awakening. After months of snow and introspection, the world outside mirrored the change within us: a renewal, a fresh start. The air carried a sense of possibility, of dreams waiting to be realized. Kevin and Tiffany had grown immensely, not just in age but in wisdom. Their laughter was lighter, their smiles more genuine, and their hearts more open. I watched them with a sense of awe and pride, recognizing the resilience they had developed through our shared struggles. Every challenge, every tear, every misunderstanding had shaped them into the young adults they had become. One afternoon, Kevin approached me with a shy smile, holding a carefully wrapped envelope. "Mom, this is for you," he said, his voice tinged with anticipation. Inside, I found a series of photographs he had taken over the past months. Each image captured moments that told our story. The quiet mornings, the laughter around the dinner table, the snow-covered garden, Tiffany reading by the fireplace, and even the small, unnoticed details that often went unappreciated. The way sunlight streamed through the windows, the gentle sway of curtains, the shadows dancing on the walls. "These are beautiful," I whispered, my fingers tracing the edges of each photograph. You've captured our life in a way I never could have imagined. Tiffany joined us holding a small leather-bound notebook. And I've written something too, she said. She handed it to me, her eyes glistening. The pages were filled with her reflections, stories, and heartfelt letters to each of us. Reading her words, I felt a wave of emotion I could barely contain. This is our journey, I murmured. All of it here in your words and Kevin's photographs. You've made our story tangible, something we can hold onto forever. The months passed in a gentle rhythm, each day a reminder of growth and renewal. Kevin prepared for college, excited yet nervous about the future. Tiffany pursued her writing with a newfound confidence, submitting her stories for publication and sharing them with the world. I supported them both, guiding when necessary but mostly stepping back to watch them flourish. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sun dip below the horizon, Kevin spoke softly, almost to himself. "Mom, do you think we're ready for the world?" I looked at him, seeing the young man he had become, strong, compassionate, and thoughtful. "The world will test you, Kevin, but remember, readiness isn't about knowing everything. It's about carrying the lessons we've learned and trusting in yourself and the love that surrounds you." Tiffany leaned against my shoulder. "And even when we're far apart, the bond we share will always guide us back to each other." Their words settled over me like a warm embrace. I realized that the journey we had taken together, the trials, the reconciliation, the moments of fear and doubt, had prepared us for this next chapter. We had faced adversity, learned patience, embraced forgiveness, and discovered the strength that comes from love and unity. One weekend, we decided to take a family trip to the countryside. The rolling hills, vibrant fields, and gentle streams offered a sense of peace and reflection. Kevin captured the landscapes through his lens, while Tiffany wrote short stories inspired by the scenery. I walked beside them, taking in the beauty and feeling a profound sense of gratitude. During the trip, we stumbled upon a small, abandoned cottage at the edge of a meadow. Its weathered walls and overgrown gardens spoke of years gone by, yet there was a charm in its decay. We spent hours exploring, imagining the lives once lived there and sharing stories that intertwined the past with our present. In that moment, I realized that life was a series of chapters, each filled with challenges, lessons, and growth. And what mattered most was the love and connection we carried from one chapter to the next. As the day drew to a close, we sat beneath a sprawling oak tree, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. Kevin took a deep breath. "Mom, I think I finally understand our story isn't just about us. It's about the choices we make, the love we share, and the impact we leave on each other." Tiffany nodded, her eyes reflecting the golden light. "It's about resilience, hope, and never giving up on the people who matter most. No matter what happens, we carry each other in our hearts." I felt tears rise, not of sorrow, but of overwhelming joy and pride. "Yes," I said softly, "and that is the true essence of family. Through every storm, every challenge, every triumph, we carry each other. That is what makes us unbreakable." The evening faded into night, the stars twinkling above like distant promises. We returned home, carrying the serenity of the countryside within us. Life would continue with its unpredictable twists, its joys and sorrows, but I knew we were ready. Together, we had transformed, healed, and grown stronger than ever. In the weeks that followed, Kevin left for college, stepping into a world full of opportunity and uncertainty. Tiffany's writing gained recognition, opening doors she had only dreamed of. And I, as their mother, embraced the quiet moments at home, reflecting on the incredible journey we had shared. One morning, as I sipped coffee and watched the sunrise, I felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The past no longer weighed heavily on us. It had become a foundation for growth, a testament to resilience and love. I understood that life's challenges were not obstacles to fear, but lessons to embrace, opportunities to strengthen bonds and discover the depth of human connection. The house was quieter without Kevin and Tiffany bustling about, yet it was filled with memories, laughter, and the enduring presence of love. Every photograph, every story, every letter reminded me of the journey we had undertaken together, a journey of reconciliation, understanding, and unwavering devotion. And as I looked out at the world awakening in spring, I realized that the greatest triumph was not measured in achievements or milestones, but in the resilience of the human heart and the enduring power of love. We had faced adversity, emerged stronger, and created a family bound not by perfection but by choice, commitment, and compassion. Life would continue, unpredictable and uncharted, but I knew one truth would remain constant. The bond we had nurtured, the love we had fought to preserve, and the courage we had discovered within ourselves would guide us through every challenge and triumph yet to come. With that, I closed my eyes, allowing the warmth of our memories, the strength of our bonds, and the quiet joy of our shared journey to fill me completely. The story of our family was far from over, it was only beginning. And with hope, love, and resilience as our compass, we were ready to face whatever chapters lay ahead. If you felt inspired by this story, don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who loves tales of resilience, family, and triumph. Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss another powerful story that will move you, teach you, and touch your heart. And tell us in the comments which moment in the story touched you the most and why. We love reading your thoughts and sharing this journey with our amazing community.